Hello everyone who are listening to us for the first time. This is Robo Sapien podcast, and I am your host Abhas Mathur with my really amazing co-host.
Abhar Bhatt.
Yeah,
So, today we have a very inspiring guest with us, guys. He has worked in IT for close to 2 decades and is a TEDx speaker, thought leader, and mentor in leadership and communication. He is also a podcaster and has finished 70 plus episodes of the podcast named Stories That Impact to understand people and their journeys. He has recently started another podcast to work with successful corporates to share their experiences in a show called Communicate with Impact. Through his research, he has created a framework big, believe, improve, grow that help individuals to be better leaders, leaders that can provide a safe environment for ideas to flourish. Please welcome our amazing guest, Mr. Amit Khanna. Welcome, Amit, to the RoboSapien podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you, Abhar and Abbas, for your warm welcome and that wonderful introduction.
yeah. Welcome, Amit. Welcome to Robo Sapien
Welcome.
podcast. And Amit, we are really glad that you accepted our invite to be on the podcast. And since we connected on the Zoom and we talked a little bit about your journey previously on a meeting, I want to discuss your journey with the viewers who are listening to us and listening to you. I want them to know from where you came from Mumbai, all your struggle, and to the point that you are at, where you are at the point where you can help other people to communicate and the leadership and all these things. So I want you to share how your journey began and how you reached to the point where you are. Yeah, floor is all yours.
Interesting. So, I can go back saying that in 1979, but yeah, that's where I was born. But I'll not make it very quick, but I'll not drag it. Okay. But I want to give the viewers a certain gist of what exactly happens in life. And, it can happen with you as well, the viewers who are listening and watching, and how I came out of it. All right. And it's not some that, I'm God gifted in any ways. It's just that you got to do certain things when you have to do. So just a quick thing. So right now I'm in Melbourne in Australia and I'm a resident here. Okay. My life, I grew up in Mumbai in, you know, decent family, only child, and very, very, very pampered. Okay, too much, literally. And from that point, and what happened is my father passed away when I was 15, and so from the point at the top of my life being pampered and never thought of being money came down to zero. I started working since 94 and during my college years and everything, and eventually got into IT. And my mother passed away, so I'm alone after that. And I started my journey. So the journey has always been a struggle. The first point of struggle was when I did my post graduation and the 9/11 Twin Towers crash happened. So I graduated at that time. So we didn't have
Oh,
jobs. Okay. So the problem was, so earlier in my childhood, I realized that, how important is to have a job. Okay. Because when you don't have a job for a long time and when you need it desperately,
Yeah,
how important that becomes. So when I
yeah,
got into, I realized that, I worked in textile industries as worker in hotels and so on and so forth. So IT was a very, very nice place because there's air condition. Okay.
yeah,
Uh, and you get bloody paid a lot of money in that, even at that time,
yeah,
compared to what I used to do as a worker, right? So it
yeah,
was a very, very decent place for me. And soon I realized, one of the things I did mention, I forgot to mention, is that I couldn't speak English up to age 16. All right. Couldn't, literally. I'm English medium student, but I
oh,
never chose to speak in English. And that became a part of a humiliation and, bullying and stuff.
yeah,
got it through.
Right.
I don't want to go ahead with all those. So I started learning how to speak English, looking at all and many things, right? And I became fluent to that point that when I went to US for the first time in 2006, one of my managers actually, we were two folks, and one of the managers actually said to the other guy, "Hey, didn't you do the same schooling like Amit did? I can understand him better." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's a biggest certification I can get, right? A guy who
Right.
can't speak English till age 16 and now doing better at 24, 25." So
Yeah.
that's where the communication part came in, right? I mean, speaking.
Right.
So
Right.
from there, I have been traveling a lot, and now I'm come down to directly 2020. All right. So I was working. I worked in close to I worked with a company called as Teradata for 14 years. All right.
Wow.
And
Wow.
in last one in a decade, I was placed in 6 different countries. This is my sixth country of work. Okay. So I was in, it was 2020, 2019, and I got my residency. I was in Sweden working for Volvo Cars, and I got my residency for Australia. Now we took like a good 4 5 months, and we decided, all right, let's move to Australia. And I thought, just say Ram ka banvas is over 14 years ka. My work of 14 years toward this company is over. Now I'm going, I can leave it. So I
Hmm.
left the job,
Hmm.
and I thought, let's drop into India first, and then I'll fly to Australia. And my
Right.
date of dropping in India was 19th March 2020, the day when India went in lockdown. And I
Uh,
was now in India. 31st of 27th of March was my last working day with Teradata.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I don't have a job after that because Australia is also going in lockdown. Nobody can do anything. So one of the things I decided was to not continue with Teradata for
Hmm.
one key reason. And this is, people tell me that I'm stupid. Okay. A lot of people tell me that. Okay.
Hmm.
With my decisions. One of the decisions was that if I back out, okay, see, I know one thing, guys, is that the biggest friend you can have or the biggest enemy you can have is you.
Yeah.
I mean, not you guys, okay?
Agree.
It's me, myself.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
Self, right? Why I'm saying this is because when I didn't had my parents, it's a lonely world in a way, right? And
Yeah.
when you're with yourself, it's the
Hmm.
biggest challenge that people just can't have it. Okay, they just can't
Right.
stay with themselves. Okay, they need, that's why
Right.
they need phones and stuff.
Yeah.
So what I've learned over a period is that if I have taken a mind, I took 5 months to decide that I'm going to move to Australia. I It was a 3 months of notice period that I had to even think back. Right? Can I come back? And it's not that COVID happened right on 19th. COVID discussion started 2 3 months ago, right?
Yeah.
So if
right.
I decide at the last moment with fear, because it's a fear, right?
Yeah.
A fear that Amit, you
Hmm.
don't have a job next day. If I went back, that means I'm stepping back from my decision. And in my head, it was not valid. Okay. And I went through it. I didn't got a job, and I didn't got a job while I was there in India for 11 months. Why? Because let's say if I come to you guys, hey folks, I need a job,
Hmm.
and eventually I'm going to leave you, right? So that didn't work in my head either, right?
Right.
So there's a certain thing of loyalty for me. I don't know why, but it's still there. It's not with the company, it's again my own things. So 11 months, no job, and that's where savings are, right? You gotta save money for some, बोलते ना, पैसे बचाओ बुरे time के लिए. That is the bloody bura time, right? What do you expect the bura time to be?
Yeah.
So
True.
Absolutely.
I had my things. My family supported me like always, and yeah, I moved on. Now this is the fun part. When I was in India, people always, in Australia, there's a thing called as, if you don't have a Australian experience, they don't give you a job. Now I'm a project manager slash program manager person, right? So for me, it was a little more challenging because I've never worked in Australia. So what I did in my 10 months is, I think Abhar mentioned about that show, Stories That Impact, right? So I started
Yeah.
that. I started the
Mm.
true networking. Okay. Now, people don't know what networking is. Well, a lot of people go to LinkedIn when they need a job, and
Yeah.
they feel that, oh, if I like Amit's two post, he will going to recommend me somewhere. So I'm like, all right. So I did networking, real networking for
Okay.
10, 11 months. All right. And what happened? Uh, my flight was, Australia, there was quarantine thing going on. Okay.
Yeah.
And Melbourne is at the bottom and
Hmm.
Darwin is at the top
Okay.
in Australia. The flight lands here and you have
Hmm.
to stay here for quarantine for 2 weeks. Okay.
Okay.
And what happens is when you're quarantine, when I was in quarantine, I landed on a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Sunday, I turned on my laptop. It was February 2021. And I said, I am in Australia on LinkedIn. Monday, I got a phone call. Amit, are you ready for an interview? I'm like, yes. Tuesday, I went for the interview. Thursday, Wednesday, I went for second round of interview.
Yeah.
Thursday evening, I got an offer letter. That's the fifth
Whoa.
day of landing in Australia,
And all because of networking.
all because of networking. And
Wow.
here is the interesting thing. I not only got that job, in my 2 weeks of quarantine, I got two more offers. Okay. And
Nice.
yeah. And so what happened is when I got those offers and I selected one and I put across a message that, hey, you know what? This is what happened. And then people are like pouring in again. Oh my God, how did you do it? I'm here for last 1 year and I'm not getting a job. And I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. So that's how I landed. So all I'm trying to say is that, from the point where I started off and from the point where I am, of course, it's like a 2.5 decade journey now, but I enjoyed every bit of it. And there's been a lot of lessons that I learned.
All right. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. It's really, really, really inspiring that you came from nothing and now you're at a point where you use just networking to connect with the right people and did networking at a very constructive in a very constructive way, because mostly what people do through networking is that they like to promote their stuff, they like to promote their company or their product and stuff like that, but you actually build relations with people. You build a trust, and I think that is something that led to you getting a job or staying in Australia and all those things. That's
True,
really
true.
inspiring actually.
True. And I'll tell you one more thing. Okay, people, everybody needs to understand this very, very clearly is that you are selling every single minute. Every single minute. What it means is that I am a product. Okay. People
Okay.
have to like me. Correct. See, even
Correct.
in networking, right? You just mentioned that companies sell products and services. So
Yeah.
I'm selling my service, right?
Right.
So you have to know me. You have to know me you have to know me a bit. You have to know what services I offer. Worst is most of the people have a resume as a service. I
Correct.
don't care how your resume of 5 years, 10 years is gonna be fitting on one page, two page, three page, five. I mean, who the hell is going to read it here? Come on. The attention span is like 3 seconds.
Right.
Nobody bothers. So you gotta sell. You gotta know this art of selling yourself. What comes out of your mouth in front of whom matters.
Right.
Right.
Nice.
Absolutely, man.
So,
Absolutely.
like, yeah, Amit, on that note, like, I had a question for you. As you said, like, you did real networking. So, can you please explain to our viewers what real networking means and, like, how can
Mhm.
we all do it?
Sure,
Like
sure.
if somebody wants to
Yeah.
if somebody wants to connect, like we are trying to connect with people like you, amazing people like
Right.
you, right? So we find it very difficult to find people who actually want to be on the podcast, or people who like to share their stories and things like that. And there might be other perspective for this, but for us this is the main point, that we like to connect with people who are actually doing something like you are doing, like the big project, right? The
Yeah.
BIG, right? And uh, the podcast that you did. So how can we do the networking, and how can our viewers who are starting their startups and trying to sell their products put their, would bring, actually, build a good foundation so that
Mm,
people can, think of them as the next Apple or the next Microsoft, right? So how can
true.
they use networking, leverage the skill of networking in that way?
Good. I mean, really, really interesting points. So, questions, I would say. Uh, See, one of the things is, and I know this is a age-old dialogue, but it's fact, okay? But I'll still give you the other option, more points. One of the things is patience. What I mean is that patience doesn't mean that you post a day and then stop. All right.
Mm.
What I'm trying to say is that, let's say if I want to connect with Abhar and Abhas, okay, and I'm like,
Yeah.
now these are the guys I need to connect. So, what is the first thing I'll do? Okay, I'll go to LinkedIn and I'll go and search for you. Now I've found you. Now, what's the next step I'll do? I'll go and read your bio. All right, everything what you've done. If you have articles, links that you shared, posts that you made, right? Now,
Right.
this is when you're really interested. See, one of the problems is, guys, is that people, and I recorded this video a few days back on Insta, is that people want first before giving. Okay, here's try and understand me. Okay, I teach my 7-year-old a concept of give and get. All right, you
Right.
got to give first. So before I come and see what Abhar and Abhas can give me, I need to figure out what I can give you. All right. So let's say if I want you
Right.
both on my show, I need to understand what you guys are doing. Let's say you are going on and you're sharing Robo Sapien podcast, correct? So now what I can do with it, right? I can go and listen to it, right? And when I
Mm-hmm.
listen to it, there are certain things I'm going to like about it, right? I'm pretty sure
Right.
because there will be some views from this your authors I'm going to probably like or dislike. It doesn't matter, right? But I might have an opinion about it,
Correct.
correct? Now my
Correct.
job is to raise that opinion on that platform. When I do that, what happens is you get interaction,
Correct.
correct?
Right.
Your views might go up now because let's say if I have 4,500 people on LinkedIn and if I'm going to post something on your space, the people are like, oh my God, what is Amit Khanna doing here? Oh, he's bashing these two folks. Why? Let's listen. Or he's so that's how you get attraction as well. So I'm doing my part, whether it's, see, I'm sharing my opinion. I'm not saying that speak good about it. I'm just sharing my opinion. See, a
Right.
lot of people, the problem is that they don't share their opinion. They share their opinion in their head. अरे ये क्या फालतू है? अरे ये क्या crap? Oh, this is really nice. I liked it. But you have to
Hmm.
share it. If I need to help you, I have to do that, right? And if I really like it, then I can take that podcast and send it to others, saying that listen to these guys. It's interesting. This video, this specific podcast, this specific content from ninth minute to 14th minute is the key, right?
Right. Right.
So that's how I'm interacting, right? And when I have this interaction, see, it's not about hi Abhar, how are you doing? Hi Abbas, how are you doing? It's so
Yeah.
wonderful podcast. It's when people give me likes and it's I like it. Okay, please viewers do that. All right, but all I'm saying is I would love to have more comments.
Right.
Okay, comments
Right.
could be BS, comments could be a praise, right? But that way I know what people want, and that's how you build network. When I go and connect with a CEO, and I used to do that, you can go on my LinkedIn and check, there are CEOs, VPs and all those. I used to read their article and I used to get some sense out of it. See, because people want, see, one of the things that everyone needs to understand is that everyone needs attention. It doesn't matter who it is, all right? And you can provide them with your attention by giving them feedback, comment on it, and it has to be something which is a conversational comment, not like great article. No, trust me, people don't like it. Like if I see 10 lines of great article, I know it's a great article. That's why I put it here. नहीं तो मैं क्यों डालता? Right. I know. But tell me what you got out of it. So this is a good way of networking. I used to do that. Okay. Second is when you have podcasts. So I used to go to many people's podcasts. In fact, I was so much onto certain podcasts. They said that why don't you come as a guest now? Because मैं इनके every podcast पे जाके I used to listen to the guest and I used to sit there and listen to them and talk because people
Right.
like it, right? So that's networking. Networking just doesn't mean because initially क्या होता था, we used to go to a party, a group, and we used to give visiting cards to everyone. And you know what happens with those visiting cards, because I came from that time, right?
Yeah.
People are like, shh, shh. और तभी पेपर के ही रहते थे, प्लास्टिक के इतने, it was expensive.
Yeah.
They used to just go on dumps. So all I'm saying is that, like, same thing, you are the product. What you post on your LinkedIn is very important. How you maintain your LinkedIn is very important. I tell people to go and check my LinkedIn. It's a professionally developed LinkedIn. Why? Because I paid literally hundreds of dollars to get
Right.
my LinkedIn in a shape. I connected with nice LinkedIn people who are the trainers in Australia, some of the best. So that's how I got a job, right? So people can see my LinkedIn as well, right? But there are many other things, right? So I think that's networking. And second is that it can't happen once a week.
Right. You
Okay.
have to
This
be
is,
persistent. You have to be persistent.
yes.
Like
At
it
least
was.
30 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, go on.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. 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 Just continue. Continue. It's okay.
No, I was just going to say the same thing. Persistent. 30 minutes a day, if
Yeah.
not lot.
Yeah. So I was listening to a podcast, another podcast that is the Diary of a CEO, and you must have heard about it, right? It's a very famous podcast on internet. So in that podcast, I heard the one thing that really hit me. It said that the guest said that a difference between a good manager and a bad manager is that a good manager does not give feedback at the end of the month or the end of the quarter. They keep on giving the feedback to every single person, like in at the end of every week, like one-to-one conversation with them. So their method of giving feedback is quite persistent, and that that is very important, because if you are persistent with networking, with communicating with people, and giving feedback or sharing your opinion, then that actually creates an impact, and that actually helps you make relationships, like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one another thing I would like to tell people is that when they go and approach someone, okay, and when they send that message, add to connection or whatever, right? That you want
Yeah.
to add this person, you gotta introduce yourself, right? Hi, Amit. I have seen this. I know about this. This is this. At least one or two lines, you know.
Right.
So I had created template. Okay, I had created template for everybody. All right. So I used to send that as a template. Now people might wonder, but hey, I need to connect with people, right? And most of the time, see, one of the, and I'm sorry to interrupt that statement of my own, but most of the time, guys, people live to their resume titles.
Right.
So someone asks, "Hi Abhar, hi Abbas, introduce yourself." And most of the time, people are, "I'm a project manager. I'm a da, 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 da." So they don't have a bloody identity of themselves. You know,
Right.
you got to
Hmm.
identify yourself, because at a level where when you become a leader,
Hmm.
okay, the first thing you need to know and understand is that you're gonna handle and work, not handle, but you're gonna work with people. All
Right.
right, your skills, interpersonal skills, become very key. So you're not just a project manager. You're not just a somebody. Okay. And LinkedIn is a good place where you can share your thoughts. LinkedIn is a good place where you can share your ideas and stuff. So always when you add a connection, please share something. Why are you connecting with me?
Right.
Right.
Hmm.
Correct.
Right.
I actually removed my ad connection, So by default it's follow now. So you
Okay.
Okay.
follow me. If you click on that drop down, then you will see add to connect, right?
Right.
Because now I want people to follow me. So yeah, that's how you can network.
Right. Absolutely. Actually, I remember a quote from the book. It was Steve Jobs' biography written by Walter Isaacson. I read it when in around in 2019 only, I think, or
Mm,
maybe at the time of pandemic when the second wave came. I do not remember exactly. It said that your product and the technology does not as much your your networking matters, and the vision in the people's eyes of your company matters. So I think uh, that is something that people can do. People, specifically people who are starting their own startup, creating their own product, can do, right, to build more relationship, create an environment where their customers can believe in them rather than their just in their products. So
mm.
every time they release something, they bring something out new. Then just because they have a trust on that company, right? They will buy anything, even sometimes even blindly, just the same way they do for Apple products. Like today, everybody is buying iPhones, right? Everybody, doesn't matter if they are just increasing the size or decreasing the size. They are just
Hey,
crazy about that thing. So I think
my
that is
family is
something
an
very.
Apple family.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a total of, if I can see, one, two, three, four, five. uh, Within three of us, or two, let's say two of us, we have close to nine products.
whoa,
Oh.
So you can imagine, right?
yeah,
How
yeah,
much
So,
they have sold.
but
Sorry, go
but
ahead.
that's the
Hmm.
great thing about that company. It creates such a great ecosystem
Yeah,
that once you enter that ecosystem, you get so comfortable that you don't want to get out.
true,
yeah,
true. And I think the key from there was, and what you both mentioned, it's not just about your product and service. Okay, I learned it in a very hard way as well, and I'm still learning it. Okay, it's about you.
yeah,
It's you. That's it.
Right.
exactly. Agree. Totally agree. Yeah. So, Amit, moving on to the next question, like you have been helping people in the building their leadership skills and public speaking skills. So, what is your thought about leadership? Like, what is leadership according to you, and what is the one thing that you think is very important in a leader?
Interesting. I'll start with the Googling definition. Okay, something that you might hear from Google. Because I want to, it's just easier to set a basic tone. All right. So
Right.
basically, leadership is like, it's an ability to motivate and inspire people, right?
Yeah.
And the whole point is that, leaders, like, they need to have strong communication skills, right? But now if I take that and take a step ahead or backwards to understand, how can I define it? And how can I always ask this question to anybody who comes to me that I want to do this or achieve this, and I ask them to define it, okay, and
Mm.
share with me some tangible outputs. So
Right.
let's see what is leadership and what is a tangible leadership leader would look like. All right.
Right.
In my head. All right. And I might be wrong as well. So leadership for me, it started long back. All right.
Hmm.
Long back. This was 20, no, even back than that. Okay, let's go back. So I am a physics graduate. All right. I
Okay.
majored in physics, and I'm not an engineering student because of some XYZ reason, but I'm a physics graduate. And I come from Mumbai, so Mumbai University. And I
Hmm.
was an amazing student. So amazing that I couldn't clear my exams. Right? Uh, I was an outstanding student. Like I was always out of the
Mm.
college.
Mhm.
So I couldn't clear my second year BSc. My second year BSc was mathematics and physics.
Right.
And my
Mhm.
final year was only physics. And then I couldn't clear a maths exam from my second year. So you get that 80 KT thing. I don't know if it's still valid or not, that terminology.
Eh, yeah, it's valid.
Okay. Okay. So you get that. And then I cleared my final year and I applied for CDAC. At that time, it was like one of the amazing courses. And here's another interesting fact about me, viewers, that at age 21, some lightning bolt struck on my head and I became the completely opposite of what I was. Okay. Uske baad say it is like I'm on a horse of God knows studies and I'm become a highly intellectual person.
So
So I don't
literal
know what
lighting
happened.
board, or
Sorry?
a literal lighting board, or it was a
I don't
euphemism?
know. It might be something really big. Okay. So, and I also, yeah. So that was the time I really got serious in my final year. I really don't know what happened. Okay. But nevertheless, I got my CDAC cleared and I went to Calcutta for my studies. Now, CDAC is a non stop program, right? It
Right.
only stops for like 6 days or 7 days in between.
Right.
So here I am. I'm in CDAC. I somehow begged them to take me in, and they took a special request. And I told them that before the end of my program, I will come up with the degree because you need a degree, right, to show. And I don't have a degree because my second year exam is still pending. So I went. So there was a CDAC was started every week. Almost there was an exam, or every other week there used to be exam. So I had to come from Calcutta. Now I didn't told my mom, by the way,
Mhm.
okay, that I have a paper left. So I came from Calcutta, came to Mumbai in train, stayed
Mhm.
in my friend's office. Maths में three papers होते हैं, maths 1, 2, 3 तभी. So there
Yeah.
were 5 days total. Okay,
Okay.
4 days. I came to Bombay, stayed in office. I used to take bath in college. What do you call? जहाँ पे people washroom,
Oh.
right? Males washroom.
Yeah.
I used to give my exam, sit in the college till evening, and जैसे ही मेरे evening के friends के office से सब चले जाते थे, I used to go and sleep there. Again, get up, go to college washroom, take bath, and I gave my papers like this. Went back. जाने के लिए ticket नहीं थी, so I got a RAC thing, and it was a 44 hours journey, Kolkata mail में, and I couldn't find a berth, so I had to stay outside the toilet for the first 36 hours. And I was studying because I have a paper to give when I land in Calcutta. Okay. And I cleared that as well. So I cleared the maths, I cleared that. And that is where leaders come. All right. What I'm trying to say is that leadership doesn't come from getting a management degree. Okay. Leaders are born in a way. Okay. Now I'm not saying it, you have to be born from your mother's stomach, but born, there are chances that life is going to throw onto you. It is how you take it and be the leader. Okay. Stepping forward,
Right.
taking responsibility. All
Right.
right. Ownership
Right.
of the situation is what leadership is. And when the team sees that, okay, so what happened is at an early age, I also realized this. I'm a terrible coder. I can't code, you know, and Java was very bad for me. So I realized that
Mhm.
I can't code, but I can work with people. I can
Oh.
work with Abhas and Abhar, and I like, hey, I know, yeah, it's a shitty thing. Let's do it. So at a very early time of my life, that is right from 2006, my company also realized that, oh, he's a person whom we can, give him people to handle rather than
Right.
work. So that's how I started developing, right? So what I'm trying to say is that a leader or a leadership trait is basically that situations are going to come. How you present yourself in the situation, number one, how you handle it, and how you take care of all the others in that situation is important. Okay. So you have to still stay calm in a certain manner. You can still be angry. It's not that you can't be, all right?
Hmm.
But how do you channelize your frustration is a key.
Mhm.
Okay. One of the things I've learned in a very, very hard way is that 2014 mein when I got promoted as a project manager. So that project manager word got into my head. Okay. And I'm like, do this, do this, do this. That's how I became. I did that for one project. Project went fine. See, I always tell this to people that project khatam ho jata hai. Okay. Tension mat lo. But it's the people under those projects, how they get impacted, right? And my people were not happy. And since 2014, I realized that no, it's I'm not going to make people happy, but I'm not going to treat them as they are just resources. That's a bad word, by the way. Human resources. We don't use that at all now. By the way, in last 7-8 years, it's not resources. It's team members. So
Okay.
we have to learn this how to handle emotions. I have countless examples that I can share with you. Should I share one more?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
yeah, absolutely,
please.
man.
All right. So this is a very interesting example from Volvo cars, right? Because people have another thought that, oh, Firangi log hai, I don't know how they are and stuff like that, right? So, so Volvo cars mein kya hua? I was in India waiting for my visa to get done, and Volvo cars mein there was a project, and that was not going on well. Okay, it had 4 million sunk cost. All right. So the money has already dropped. All they had to do is create a dashboard that's going to help the company to locate where exactly the shipment of a Volvo car is. So let's say you both have bought a car. So you want to know, right? Mera car kahan pe hai abhi? So they can tell you, oh, it's on the way on this ship coming to you in Bangalore or wherever you are, right? Jaipur, right? So they let you know. So they wanted that in one area and they wanted it to happen like real time. Right now, the data was, but it was like a couple of days old, right? So that was a sunk project. I got in and I was told that Amit handle it. And it was very bad. Okay. So the IT team and the business team were fighting. Business was not happy. The lady who was the scrum master, she was leaving. And I came in. And that was a very good test for me. So one of the things I tell all the folks to do is to one, try to be humble. Okay, don't show off. Now you are something. Show off with your dress. Okay, it's okay. But when you speak, okay, make sure that you're humble enough. Second, keep your bloody mouth shut. Seriously, managers and leaders have to keep their mouth shut as much as possible. All right, because when they open the mouth, the whole mess starts in a way. All right, so that's the two things I learned again in a hard way, and I am adapting that. It's still challenging, by the way, because ego comes. So I still try
Right.
to. All right. So what happened is I worked with the team slowly and gradually. I got the team. So first thing I had to do is clear off their emotions. There's a lot of backlog, right? So it takes time. So give them time. That's one of the things I told my person, my boss in Sweden, who gave me this project. And I told him that if you want me to handle the project, you're not going to respond to any email that comes to you regarding this project. I should be solely responsible and accountable for this project. That is my deal with everyone. Because only then you have the adequate control how you want to steer the project. Correct?
That is a big
So
deal. Like taking
it's a
taking
big
that much
deal.
accountability,
Yes, it is. It is. And that's what leaders are, right? And that's what
right?
he did. He stepped back. And now everybody in Volvo who wants to know what is going on, they are like pinging me, right? And of course, there's a system. So I had to work with the customer. We had to put in the nice agile process. They didn't knew what it is. So we took it slowly and gradually. But here's the interesting part, the result, right? Tangible result. In 5 months, we went from 4 million sunk to a place where we were nominated second for Volvo Innovation Awards for the same
Oh,
project, right? And it's
nice.
amazing, right?
Right.
It's the greatest feeling that you can get
Yeah.
Right.
True.
True.
until now. And people can check all this on my LinkedIn. Okay, I've got like lot of recommendations, so you can check that. But all I'm trying to say is that it's not about me. People used to come and say, "Oh, you did," and I kept telling them, "It's not. I was working very less." So here's the thing: I was not preparing any amazing dashboards and all that. All right, I was hardly at my system. But what my job was, just to be a very massive shield to my team. Okay, people just can't penetrate to get to them. Period. And it's not
Right.
about. Uh, I was not doing what you called checking their work every single day or things like that. I
Right.
just didn't want them to be bothered.
All right.
Okay. See, not everyone will be developed in a certain way to handle things, right? There are a
Right.
lot of techies I know who are amazing. Oh my God, they blow my mind away when they do all their coding work. But when it comes to somebody coming and asking them some work and stuff, they don't know how to connect with them. That's why the whole communicate with impact came in, right?
Right.
But that's a leader, and you will find a leader in everyone. I have found a leader in a graduate trainee as well. You just have to identify that yes, I can put some trust on him. And when you put a trust on, let's say if I find Abhar that okay, he's the guy. Okay. So what I'm gonna do next time, I'm gonna give him a little responsibility and I'm gonna step off. Let me see how he handles. All right. And that's what leaders do. If he fails, I'm there. If he successes, I get away. And I
Right.
still do that. If
Right.
he's successful, anybody in my team is successful, I make sure to make a lot of noise about them. Oh, you know what? This is what my member are. But if they fail, and we do that, and then I just take him away. I just
Right.
don't put his name at all.
Right.
It's me. And it takes guts. And I'll tell you what, eventually it helps.
Right.
Eventually it
Right.
helps because people see you. You know why it helps? This is again a very cheeky thing.
Mm.
When a manager sees that Amit is protecting his team, what does a manager see? A genuine manager at the top. What do you think he will think of me?
Maybe you are trying to hide something.
That's a general thought process. But most of the time, and I can understand, but like I said, if a genuine manager, he would see that, oh, this guy knows how to handle a team. This
Right.
guy
Right.
knows how to take care of a team. Because people don't want people to come that, oh, पता है मेरे पास ये gossip है, पता है मेरे पास ये है. People don't want that at the senior leadership. People want consistency,
Right.
right? And you want that. People want at that all the leaders behave like a leader. A leader is that if your team is messing up, you take the ownership of it, fix it, get things in place. But you just can't blame onto somebody who is doing the task, right?
Right.
Of course, you go and talk to. It's not that कि मैं आभार से बात नहीं करूंगा. Oh, आभार, congratulations, you fucked up. I'll not do that. Of course, I'm gonna go and have a one-on-one chat with him, but I'm not gonna promote his name out to the world saying that yeah, he was the one.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so it's yeah, and it works. Trust me, guys, it works. So yeah,
Mm.
that's the leadership, right?
Yeah.
Google definition and the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So that was really helpful, Amit. Like being a leader takes a lot of things. I have on the like I really liked your cup. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
Superman.
Being a Superman. Oh, right.
Right. So on that, I had a question like I remember a quote like being resilient is not everyone's cup of tea, but a founder and specifically a leader. There comes the question. A founder and specifically a leader has to be one. Can you can like I really got inspired by what you just shared, and can you share some advice that could help them in their journey for our viewers with this particular part, like how,
Yeah,
yeah, for some
no,
advice
no,
for
go
our
on.
viewers.
Sure, sure. No, you if you finish your question, how?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's finished.
Oh, okay. No worries. So, one of the things is we know resilience is you gotta it's a resistance thing, right? Resilience is like how do you adapt to difficult situations and things like that.
Hmm.
Correct.
Right.
It's not so let's take the real world thing, right? It's not easy. Okay. But
Right.
but
Hmm.
my only see, I'll tell you what. Uh Now, I don't want when people hear me, they're like, "Oh, you know what, Amit? But I haven't gone through these situations that you have gone through." So I said, "Yeah, please don't. I mean, don't play to God that you were gonna be stronger the when Amit has gone through." So I've been through four facial paralysis. Okay, so my jaw used to be like here as well, four times, not just one, four times.
Hmm.
And what happens is in resilience, right? What I learned it long back is see when I was alone, I used to be alone because kya hota tha na? Like think of this way, okay, you're 15, 16, and you're just finished your school and college, and you have your friends to meet in the evening, right? You go out. I don't know about you guys nowadays, but tabhi we didn't have phones and stuff, so we go and meet half an hour, 1 hour, and have some fun and come back, right? Your
Right.
colony friends or your whatever neighbors and stuff. So for me, it was work because I have to go to work every single day. My job
Hmm.
used to start at 7 p.m. and at 1 a.m. And I used to get 1 day off. And in that 1 day off, when I used to go and meet my friends, they used to talk about things which I'm completely disconnected. So I felt bad and I started staying alone. So that became a little trouble for me, right, to handle things. But what I eventually realized is that how I became resilient is I always thought of this one question in my head. Okay, and it's weird. Okay, a lot of people find me that I'm a crackjack, but that's fine. So the one question is very, very simple question is whatever problem that you have right now, there is only two options to it. Just two options of any damn freaking problem in this planet.
Hmm.
A, live with it,
Hmm.
right? Do something about it, live it. B, die. This is the only way the problem is going to go away. That's it.
Right.
That's it. And here's the worst part. If you try to kill yourself and if you fail in that,
You have to live with
now
that
it's a
too.
bigger problem. Exactly.
Now you have to live
Now
with,
you're
whatever
a
you have done
bigger,
to yourself.
yeah, you're a bigger fuck up now. Right?
Yeah.
So I never chose the second option at all. Okay. And I don't know why. I don't know. I just don't know. Okay. So I always took the first option. The first option is live with it, right? Now, here is the thing. If you want to live with it, how are you going to live with it? You want to live with it, oh my God. Or you're going to live with it in a nice manner. Why not live with it in a nice manner? Why you want to make your life miserable on your own, right?
True.
And that's how resilience comes for every damn thing. I have so many rejections, okay, in many places every time. So I loved US when I went to US in 2006, all right.
Hmm.
Then I stayed there for like 3 4 years as well, and then every time in my office, and I was famous in my office that isko to hai na US hi jana hai.
Hmm.
Okay. And for some reason my entire language, my way of eating and all this has always resonated like an American. I don't know why again, all right. So and I got many rejections in my interviews for US. Okay, there were people who didn't wanted me to go to US as well.
Hmm.
So, and I used to sit and cry sometimes. मैं literally Bank of Baroda था वो जिस project में था, and I got a news that I'm rejected for American Airlines project, and I went to the toilet and I cried. Okay, for a few minutes,
Hmm.
but that's fine, right? How see the whole point is like you know crying is I feel is sometimes like you just shed out your emotions there and then, and it just gets closed. Rather than उसको एक hatred feeling में लाओ और फिर बोलो ये कमीना है, वो है, ये है, इसको तो चाहिए ही नहीं, मैं कुछ करूँ and all that, and it just screws up your life
Yeah,
more.
carrying a emotional baggage. That
Yeah,
is it.
yeah. And the other fun part that I learned is, and I'll show you guys here. Okay.
Yeah.
So I use this app called as Day One,
Hmm.
DAYONE. Okay.
Day one.
And Day One. Yeah. So I record things in that.
Okay.
All right. So here you can see this app here.
Yeah.
Day
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I turn on this app and you see here, this is how I record my life.
Oh, nice.
I write
Nice.
down. I write down. I write down. You can, and there are a lot of things that I write, and now I laugh. But it just it's a total of 937 entries there,
Whoa.
Oh,
right?
That's a lot of
And
data.
1,820. Yeah, and it's backdated since long. The longest was this is sometimes in 2014-15.
Hmm.
So all I'm trying to tell you guys is that resilience. One of the interesting thing in the world is that market में ना buzzwords बहुत होते हैं. Okay, like
right.
like
I agree.
leadership is a buzzword, right? Resilience is one. Yes, I'm not saying that your question is completely valid, but all I'm trying to answer you is that the way I take it is that you don't have much choices. All right, you have only two choices. Come on, that's it. Period. For
Right.
anything that comes into your see, give up. Like let's say, for example, I'm doing my big program. All right, and nothing is happening. 12 months gone by, podcast, I have only done 5 episodes, nobody is coming, no one's interested, people are canceling on my. I got up at 6:30 a.m. today for a session with someone, and that guy just postponed it, and I'm like, oh, I got up at 5:45 for him. Right, but people cancel all the time, right? But
Right.
here's the thing, I can give up, and I'm all right, thank you, good. But the question is, will I be able to live with it? If I can, and there are many people who are, okay, there are give up kings and queens as well who
Yeah.
give up on every damn thing on the planet,
Yeah.
and there are other nutcases who don't give up on anything. So we gotta find a balance.
Yeah. You have
That's
to
all I'm
find a
saying.
surface. Between the thin line, you have to find a perfect point to
Yeah.
work on.
So I think resilience builds like that. Okay. You
Yeah.
gotta have some challenges, and how do you handle that challenge is important thing. See, giving up is not a problem. But the point is that you should yourself feel that I've done enough for this now.
Yeah.
And now
It's
I'm
like
giving up. It's my choice.
yeah. Yeah. It's like J.K. Rowling once said that rock bottom was like such a familiar place for me that I built myself upon it.
See, there you
Right.
go. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's exactly the point.
Yeah.
So
So,
just define your give up point, or just define one of the other things that users or viewers can do in terms of resilience is that they can understand and write down, there's a concept of SWOT analysis, right?
yeah.
Strengths,
Right.
weaknesses.
We
Now it's
discussed
very
that
weird.
in the first episode of RoboSapien. We
Oh,
discussed
okay.
it a brief in detail of SWOT analysis. We would like
Fantastic.
to know what you're saying.
Yeah, so first thing, please go and watch their first episode for this particular piece of content as well. Now, I'll just share, I'm not going to talk about SWOT analysis, okay? All I'm going to talk about is what exactly is strength, weakness in my head, right?
Yeah.
Because when some people have a tendency to put everything as a strength. Some
Mm.
people only see a lot of weaknesses, okay?
Hmm.
So what I am trying to tell everyone is that try to try to gauge your emotions, and this is where journaling helps a little, okay? Because our minds are feeble, okay? They're gonna forget things, all right? So whenever you feel a certain level of emotion, like oh, अमित के साथ आज पॉडकास्ट में मजा आया, write down कि क्या मजा आया.
Hmm.
What is it that, not what you got out of it, what is your emotion telling you? Was it that you loved it? Was it something? And then what happened is that you will start building some data. Okay.
Right.
And you will soon see that there are also trigger points. Just जैसे कोई कुछ बोल देता है तो तभी
Mhm.
हमारा दिमाग ऐसे ऑफ ऑन हो जाता है. So you know that there's a trigger point, right? So it's not a weakness. It's just that probably that statement might hurt you. There are a lot of statements that hurt me as well, right? Because I've been bullied a lot from my school times, from seventh standard. All right, from neighbors and even by my parents in a way that you're dumb at studies, you're dumb at studies. So that's when somebody says that, it offends me, right?
Right.
So
Right.
because now it's with you. But all I'm trying to say is that when you have this listed down, okay, and you have a data, if you do it for like good 20, 30 days, you have data. One thing I love is I'm a data analyst sort of a brain. When you give me data, I can analyze. So when you have that data, now you can just see, okay, where are my strengths? How am I handling this situation? And you will automatically get to a point, you will see that, okay, this is the place I'm amazing. This is the place mera switch off ho jata.
Right.
How can I
Hmm.
take it here? That's your opportunity, right?
Right.
First a threat and then an opportunity, correct? And that's how you can start building yourself. And you will soon realize that, a lot of the so-called, not negatives, but the things that you need to improve are now going here, shifting here.
Right.
But एक चीज हमेशा याद रखना कि not every things to improve or negative has to be a positive. Okay,
No.
don't be like that. Otherwise, you'll go nuts.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, hone on few skills and just master it out if you want.
Absolutely. And when you said that you were kind of weird, like people find you weird. So I remember one thing, like in the movie Steve Jobs only, where Ashton Kutcher played Steve Jobs. In the ending, he said that all the people who are crazy enough and weird enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And I actually believe that. And that was actually the point that made me think like, okay, I want to, become an engineer and get into a technical field and someday might work at Apple or, do something like that. So
Absolutely.
when I think about it, I believe that that is actually true because all the people who are today's leaders, you know, big founders of the big companies, they have all been quite weird, quite different from most of the people around them. Most of the people who are, living a normal life, but because they were weird and they converted their weirdness into something more beautiful and more useful, that is something that helped them become what they are today. So I don't think being weird is
Absolutely.
a wrong thing. I think it's a
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
important thing for anyone to have.
No, I agree. I agree. People who know me from 25 years ago, they still can't believe that, oh my God. The very funniest thing was when I cleared my final year BSc, and my
Mm,
wife, who's my girlfriend back then,
mm,
so she was in the same college and junior to me. And I went there
Hmm.
after my CDAC, and I was in the restroom, and my college professor was right next to me peeing. And I said, "Hey, sir, pehchana kya?" And he's
mm.
like, "Arre, tu." And like I said, I was a very notorious child, like hand में वो black color का bangles and all that weird things, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
he sees me and he's like, "Arre," and then he asked me about my group. My group was
Mm,
another one crazy nut guys. And I said,
Hmm.
"Sir, sub disconnect ho gaya hai, ye wo." And मैंने बोला, by the way, so that was one of the professors who did not, just to give you an FYI to all the viewers, they had started in the final year of BSc. My physics HOD started a coaching outside
mm.
college. And when
Right.
Hmm.
I went and approached that I want to be a student, they insulted me in the head of department saying that, and this is in Marathi, by the way, Tuja Saikha Mulanna mi घेणार nahi. I'm not going to get a student like you in my class. And he gave my money
Oh.
back. Okay. So
Mhm.
to give you the context. Now, so I told him that, sir, do you know what? I cleared my final year exam. And you know what he asked me? And that's my reputation back then. कितना पैसा खिलाया? And I still give this example to many, and people don't believe it. Why people don't believe it is because, see, and I'm not saying that you guys might be amazing in your education and gold medalist and all that, and I don't disrespect that. All I'm trying to say is that people can change. Okay,
Right.
we need not tag them. I was tagged for 13 years. It took me 13 fucking years to come out of that tag that you're a dumper child. Okay,
Hmm.
and that tag got removed in 2000. Yeah, year 2000, when I was going for my final years. Okay, that is where my tag got removed. But from the age of 7 to the age of 20, I was tagged, and I don't know. And here's the amazing thing: even despite not studying, okay, I used to still manage to get first class. So imagine करो, अगर मैं वाकई पढ़ता तो पता नहीं क्या करता. Right? So that's all I'm trying to say is that A, you just don't know who land where.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And like from that, one more thing, like one really great learning for our viewers, that whoever thinks like, there are most of us that who thinks that we are dumb and we are tagged like dumb. So you can remove that tag with time, with persistence. You can
yeah,
remove that.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. We have an
And
example
I
here.
think for me, yeah, and
Exactly.
my thing came from Shiv Khera's book, You Can Win. That was the first ever book I read.
Oh,
It was given to by my cousin sister-in-law. And yeah, that removed the tag for me, by the way. That is where I learned that, oh my god, मेरे से भी बेकार लोग हैं world में. So what am मुझे क्या problem है? I mean, I know I don't have a father, but I have a mother. I've got a roof on my head, and I can still manage. So
right. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Awesome, man. Yeah, Amit. So we are coming quite close to finishing the podcast. So I want to discuss a little bit more about two things. First is the believe, improve, and grow your initiation that you have started. Right. I want to know a bit more about you. I want to if you can share a bit so that viewers can connect about it, know about it. You know.
yeah, sure. So believe, improve, and grow. This thought process started like around. It's a long back. Okay, it's just that I never tagged it. So same concept, right? Believe, right? The first thing is that. So here's what happens. Okay, I meet a lot of people. Like I have approximately connected with close to 800-900 of them. All right, in last 2 years. All right, and while connecting with many, what people do is that, oh, I need to learn some interpersonal skills here. It's very important. So they'll go to Google, and so what happens in your chemistry in your body? Your dopamine level goes up, and you
Yeah.
go, and dopamine will come to a point and lower down when you achieve something. So what is the achievement that they get? They go to YouTube, they watch some inspirational, motivational video or quote, and or they will go and read some book, and they will go and watch some podcast, or they will purchase a program, and the dopamine goes down. So what has happened in their head is that they have achieved something and now it's down, right? And this is why I tell people is that reading books, okay, listening to podcasts, whether it's yours or mine, all right, or anybody's, or motivational videos are like cocaine. Literally, they're like drugs.
Hmm.
What happens is that you want that. Your body chemistry requires it. You go, you get the drug, you're like, I'm so happy. I'm all motivated. But होता क्या है? Life में bloody कुछ करते नहीं है वो. Okay, they
Hmm.
don't take any bloody action on it. You got to take action. That's where the pain starts, right? Listening to a podcast like, oh, मैं भी है ना कल से leader हूँ. But when the shit happens, they don't do anything,
Right.
right? And that's where the problem is. The problem is that you don't take action. And that's why I tell people is that you got to believe in yourself. You got to work on your core strengths. Okay. And that is where the belief system came into picture. I had a negative belief about me for a very long time. I'm not a good student. I'm not a good uh, child. I'm not a good this. I've created a video of myself, okay, where I write down all my beliefs and I burn it, okay, and I literally burn it. Okay, you can go and check it
Okay.
on the YouTube. So there you can read my limiting beliefs because you need to believe. Okay, burning is just a process saying that to hell with it types, you know. It's a psychological impact. It's not that nikal jata hai wo ekdam se, but you got to work on it, right? So you have to know that. All right. So belief came from there. Believe in yourself, right? The next step is now that you believe in yourself, now it's time for you to improve on it, right? And this is where the action thing starts, right? What do you want to improve on yourself, right? So when people come to me, I assess them. Amit, I want to be confident.
Hmm.
Amit, I want to speak good English.
Right.
And when I listen to them, they speak decent English. I
Yeah.
think they think that if I speak like that Shashi Tharoor, they might be amazing. And nobody understands him, right?
Yeah, nobody does. But he
Exactly.
sounds very impressive, to a normal
Very,
person, he sounds very
absolutely. Exactly. But if you say the same language in office, they'll probably kick you out. Or
yeah, because
they'll
they
Hmm.
say
won't
that I
understand.
need a translator, right?
Yeah,
See, your average listener has to be at a capacity of a child who is 8 years to 10 years old. If
right.
you can explain your language to that child, that is the simplest way of communication. The worst thing that happened was all the MBAs, I'm an MBA, they used to use jargons. All right.
Hmm.
And eventually, jargons are good,
Hmm.
but you can't be a leader with a jargon.
Right.
नेता का जो नारा होता है वो सिंपल होना चाहिए, कॉम्प्लिकेटेड नहीं, because you want people to be with you, right?
Correct.
So that's another thing. You
Right.
got to improve on yourself. So I help people to improve on their body language, right? Because even on Zoom, if your body language and your tone of voice is like this, nobody's going to like it, right? Because it is so monotonous. You got to know when to pitch.
Right.
What is your
Correct.
tone of your voice? Which word has going to be high and which word has to be low?
Right.
How do you command authority, right? You got to know when your voice has to be lower so that you understand it well. And when do you have to be high, when you have to be clear, right? So that is
Correct.
where improve comes in, right? So I work with people on these skills, on communication, verbal, written, and body language. Okay, how to build confidence and stuff, right? Whether it's in Zoom or in person, right? How your hand is going to move, correct?
Right.
The last part is grow. Now that you have improved on it, now it's taking the next level. Now you go on to the stage, like now you start growing. So now I will come to you with leadership traits.
Hmm.
Okay, how are
Hmm.
you going to handle the meetings? Okay, how are you going to work on it? And I be very specific. Why? Because I want to. Okay, my group of people are very very specific guys who are into a management role and coming into a management role, right? How do you handle meetings? How do you write MOMs after that? How do you do every single day to day task? How do you handle projects, your team members, and so on? So the whole big framework came into existence like this. Okay, because I've been doing this for a while, I just realized that why don't I put it in a framework, right? Like it's structure hona chahiye, right? Abhi tak I was like talking yeah. So I thought let me put it in a structure. So that's the big
Right.
framework.
All right. Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That is
So,
very important because that skill is actually something that people actually lack, and people actually need a bit of confidence, and that can only be done if people like you can actually help them. And I really
Yeah,
believe in your, what you are doing, and I
yeah,
think that is
and
going to make an impact, big impact.
true. I hope so. That's the key. One thing I just posted yesterday on LinkedIn. Just
Hmm.
out of my I don't know, today, maybe today morning, is that when people think that I need to grow, what do they do? What a typical person does. A typical person goes and get a certification.
Right.
A
hmm.
For
typical person
validation.
goes and exactly they goes and start searching for an MBA. But
Right.
they don't, and I'm not. Please note, I'm an MBA from US as well. Okay, I'm not saying that, and I've got shitload of certifications. All right, but I'm not saying that they're going to help you They'll help you in a different manner, right? But बोलना तो आपको ही है, right? Other than
Right.
all those technology words, बाकी words तो words है ना, और
Correct.
उसको आप कैसे present करते हो वो important
Right.
So true. So, as we're coming to the end of our podcast, just have one last question for you that I would really like to know, and I would really like our viewers to know about that. So, you have a show called Stories That Impact, and one more that you have recently started, Communicate with Impact. So, I would like to know what was the idea behind those podcasts and what was the motto behind them.
Yeah, and how we can, listen to them as well.
है. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. So idea for stories that impact was pretty simple in my head. So what happened is, like I said, I shared like with you 4 or 5 stories so far, right? And
Right.
you did mention that, oh, you know what, we are inspired, we are this, right? So I gave some sort of inspiration in certain manner, right? So I keep doing that with my team members all the time. All right. I have worked on many projects. Everyone works on many things, right? वहां से कुछ learnings होती है. People tend to forget that. All right. Luckily for me, I don't forget that easily. All right. And plus, one of the things in my case is that I never used to work on support projects. I always worked on live projects. So why live? Because that way I get to know every phase of it. Nevertheless, I have my life experiences, I have my professional experiences, and these are all stories. Correct? Every story shares something. So a day came in, and I'm like, अरे यार मैंने मेरी स्टोरीज तो सुना सुना के लोगों को बोर कर दिया और मैं कितनी सुनाऊंगा, राइट? आई कांट जस्ट गो एंड से आज मैं ये बोलना चाहता हूँ आपसे, like, who the hell are you, man? So, and I thought that, you know what, there are people other than me. Like, I don't have a story of I came out of cancer. I don't have a story where I had cut my leg somehow and I still ran a marathon. I don't have a story where I had a divorce. I don't have a story where I had something to do with my family and so on and so on. And I'm like, but there are people. I know that because I was on
Right.
my entrepreneurial journey. I used to meet them, okay, on
Right.
calls, on people. And I'm like, let me go to the world. And the word impact was there. So somebody asked me from US, Amit, why are you doing this? And I said that if, let's say, if I'm interviewing Abhas and Abhar is listening, all
Hmm.
right? Abhas said something, he shared his story, personal journey. Abhar got interested. Oh, you know what? This is really, really nice. I think I can get some help from him. Oh, let me connect with him. So Abhar can now connect with Abbas. And that's the
Yeah.
impact. I removed myself. All I was a mediator. All I
Hmm.
told my guests is that I'm giving you a platform to share your story. You don't have to be with me. Okay? You can connect with anybody of my guests, and my guests can connect with you. Is that a deal? They said yes. And I said, fine. And I told
Right.
them, promote yourself. Why? Because if you promote and if the other person knows something that, see, this is where networking helped me as well. If you go and watch, I'll share the link with you guys. But if you go and watch them, you'll see people from at least 7, 8 countries. Okay. And a lot of even recruiters are there, people telling what to do in a job interview. So people can watch that, right?
Right.
How to handle job interviews, how to go for promotions, how to take care of things and stuff. It's not just about people ka personal stories. But that's how the stories that impact was born. And I think after 70 episodes, yeah, I got tired. So remember, so I was moving houses here in Australia, and remember the word give up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that it's okay.
Yeah.
I
That
thought it's
that is
okay.
the time. That is the
Right.
appropriate time to do
Yeah. I wanted to touch 100, but I always had this that Amit, see, I worked in corporate life my entire
it.
career, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I still love that job roles. Like I'm still very handy with people working on day-to-day life. I know how can I help them. So I thought I have to move. And that's where the bridge started, right? Communicate with impact came there. And the communicate with impact made the form of the story was different. There it was open-ended. I get Abhas on the line and he will just share. That's it. And it's live.
Right.
And it can go up to from 30 minutes to 1.5 hours. Communicate with impact is very short version. It's straight bullet, 5, 6 questions, 10, 12, 15 minutes, and it's done. Because that segment is for a very certain group of people. So that's the bridge.
Wow.
And I've only
That's
done
really
five
amazing.
shows so far. There.
Yeah, but still, man, that's you have done 70 shows before in the previous one, and now
Yeah.
you have done five shows. So we'll say it's 75. You're reaching towards
Yes.
100.
Yes, I will. I will. In that sense, I will. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Before we end this, Amit, is there anything that you would, any advice that you would like to give the viewers who are, the future leaders who are trying to start their startups or start their podcasts or start their journey in something new and are quite afraid of, becoming a leader because that takes a lot of responsibility, a lot of accountability, and all those things that we discuss in the whole podcast. So, what is the one thing that you would like to say at the end?
I think it's not just one thing, but few. So one of the things is startup is a little challenging world, right?
Yeah.
The sooner initially we wear multi hats, right? Many, literally many. Even now I'm wearing many hats. The sooner you can start understanding if you're in a group or you're a single person, sooner you start understanding your strengths, the better it is. So rather than spending on areas which are not your strengths and shitting
Mm.
yourself out, try to see what your strengths are. Okay. You can go to Gallup strengths and take an assessment. For me, it worked perfectly well. I mean, it just talks the right thing what I am. So, but again, I'm not promoting Gallup here. They're not going to give. I'm just sharing one of the ways. Okay. So that's one. All right. So because if you are going to take care of, because let's say you're doing 12 things, right? And six you're good at, six you're like crazy. Tendency is that you work on these six weaknesses all the time. And then what happens is you become average and everything becomes average. You don't want that. So if you are two people, more than one, see what your both strengths are and work on other things. And the biggest part is trust. Like, okay, this guy is doing for the same because you're doing for the same goal. There has to be a goal as well,
Right.
right? So if you are going for the same goal, trust the partners and go for it. That's one thing. So understand your strengths. Second is try to find a mentor. All right, because mentor will speed up things. All right, because when you take Google as your mentor, it's gonna be really crazy. Okay, because Google is not a dedicated mentor to you, right? It is mentor to zillions and billions of people here, right? So
Correct.
try to find a mentor, and you don't have to stick with the mentor for a very long time either. All right, you have to understand where you are and how a certain mentor can find. I'll give you an example. Okay, when I started with a mentor, I have like 7 mentors, okay, in last 2 3 years, okay, and out of which four are still going on. All right, but
Hmm.
they all cater different things. All right, so one of the mentor, if the mentor is here, okay, and you are here, then it's a big challenge, right? Because mentor has to come to this level and pull you up, right?
Right.
So you can find a mentor who is
Mm.
still here, right? That mentor is hungry to grow, and with that, you also grow. All you need is certain two tips. I'm not saying coaching, I'm saying mentoring. So the person comes and say, do this, this is the tool, this is what you need to do, blah, 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 move it. Period. That's it. Okay. Coaching is where people will come and coach you. Think about it, this and that. So you can have a
Mm.
coaching mentor separate if you want, but find a coaching fellow separate, but find a mentor as well who can tell you exactly what you should do in next 3 months, 6 months, and so on.
Right.
That's it. Stick with the mentor for a year or so, and if you find, go on with it or find another one. Okay. Because what happens is when you start to do many things on your own, the biggest, and everyone does that, is because to save cost. But the biggest challenge is the duration of success also goes longer. Okay, and in this day and age, yeah, it's shit crazy, right? Its
Right.
competition is shit crazy. So you gotta find a mentor, Get on it. Tell the mentor these are your goals. Work on those goals. Finish it off. Okay.
Mm.
So because I do that
Right.
for few of my folks. So they are already project managers. I set up a goal, 7 months, 8 months, they're with me. Every month we meet and we say, take this action, take this action, take this action, take this action. This is how you handle your escalation. This is what you do. This is the template for a good one. Ye karo, wo karo, ye karo, and they move on. So, they are good. So that's how you do. So find a mentor. The last part is that patience is good, but understand when it has to stop. Okay. Technically, 3 years is what they say. 3 years, and you should make something out of it. Whether now it's up to you guys, right? What your goals is. You gotta have more viewers, you gotta monetize it. Eventually you should monetize it, right? Because otherwise it doesn't make much sense. So if you want to monetize it, how are you going to monetize it? Do what about it? Because kya hota na, and it's not about charity. Okay, don't think it in that way. What happens is that at one point in life, things will come there. Why am I doing it? Because here's another thing. People have values, right? And one of the things I teach up to people is values. Okay, is that let's say if your value is family, health, money. Okay, these are your values, and people don't prioritize them. So they know family, health, and money. Now let's say on a Saturday, your son or daughter or your friend say, "Oh, chalo, hum jaake na bada pav khayenge, ekdam wo road wala."
Mm.
Now your value is family, health, and wealth. Okay, so family happy, health gaya toss mein, wealth
Mm.
kharcha kam hoega. So you say, no, 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 no. I value health also, family also. Okay, let's go to some nice restaurant. There, the bill is 4,000, 5,000. Now your wealth has gone on toss. So values are only important if you prioritize them. Okay. So when your family is the top value, then nothing matters. Then you work out something. So you got to know that in your business as well. And that will define. आज से 11 महीने बाद जब robo sapien will be, and I'm going to, please don't take me literally and don't kill me for that. If it is doing fantastic, let's take the positive side of it first. Okay, you are now 11 months and you are now close to 50th episode or maybe 100th episode. Okay, and at that time something comes in which is going to take away the time, you take away the rhythm. What are your values is going to define your robo sapien podcast. Let's take the other way around. Robo sapien 11 months down, again, don't kill me. It's not doing well. You're only touching 10th episode or 15th episode. That time, you still have time, but your values will define whether I'm going to go ahead or not. And that is where sometimes mentors help.
Right.
They will tell you how to fast track things, what you need to do, how to market, how to do whatever crap, right? So yeah, these are the things I'll just tell to anybody. So it can be applicable to you or anyone who's doing it, right? So be patient, figure out the values of your organization, figure out values of yourself, do your strengths training, and understand, focus on your strengths more and more and more. And if there's anything that you can outsource, do it. I outsource my video editing, so I can't do it. It's a painful task for me now. And I'm at a point now that I can outsource it.
Right.
Simple.
Right.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah,
So
very well
that's
said,
pretty
man.
much it, man.
Very well
My
said,
God,
man.
we
Very
spoke
well.
for a long time.
Yeah, but that what happened when we have to touch a lot of points and lot of bases, and we want to keep this as informative as possible, so people who are listening to us, they can actually learn something out of it, and they can not. We don't want to create a bunch of viewers out of it. We want people to learn something out of this podcast, so they can use those principles in their current life, in their current to help them achieve their current goal. So basic point is to make entrepreneurship and leadership easy. So, and if we have to do that, we have to take time, right?
Absolutely.
So with that, let's end this podcast now, and thank you for everyone who have listened to us, and we'll be back.